what a lot of people I don't think know about you is you're something of a Star Wars nerd.
I love some Star Wars.
Okay,
Yes.
so I'm going to give you a little bit of an opportunity to talk about Star Wars. I'm going to kind of put you on the spot here.
Okay.
Rank episodes 1 through 9, worst to best. Go.
Dude. All right. I'm going to verbal process here. This is a fun question. The I'll say this. I rewatched the prequel trilogy probably like during COVID or something. They're not as bad as people say they are. They have their moments, but like Revenge of the Sith is a solid movie. And I mean, Phantom Menace is pretty rough at moments, as is Attack of the Clones, but they're not I don't know. They had a little more heart than there's still something really sincere about it. I think because like George Lucas's hands were still in it. And I like sincerity and intent. So okay. So I'd say I'm not saying they're in the top, half, but they're not 7, 8, 9 in the order. Okay. Did you say rank worst to best?
Worst to
Okay.
best.
I think Attack of the Clones might be the worst. I think up a spot from that, probably Phantom Menace or Last Jedi. Those are probably interchangeable at 7 and 8. I think 6 is probably slot 6, I think, is Rise of Skywalker. The last of the new I didn't love a lot of that. So then we get into the decent stuff. Let's go. Let's see. Or no, this would be slot 5, I think. I'm trying to. Okay, yeah. Right,
slot 5. That's correct. Slot 5.
So let's go. Let's go. Revenge of the Sith at 5th. That's really close with Force Awakens. I think those are 4 and 5. And then I think 3, obviously 1, 2, 3 is the original trilogy. I think Empire Strikes Back is probably the best movie. A New Hope 2nd, 3rd place, Return of the Jedi. There we go. But if we were to throw Rogue One in there, that's like that might be like number 3. And that wasn't the question, but I would put that one pretty dang high.
Where would you rank Solo?
Ooh, I thought Solo was pretty good. I
did too.
Yeah.
I like Solo.
I guess it was more of a box office flop than like or maybe it wasn't even a flop. A box office, it wasn't a smash.
Yeah, right. It was still, Ron Howard made the point. He was like, it's my highest gross movie of all time.
That's hilarious.
Right. One of the most acclaimed directors of the last half of the 20th century. That was his biggest.
Yeah.
And people were saying, oh, it's a flop. It's like, not for me, it wasn't.
That's hilarious. Yeah, Solo would be upper middle of the fat pack, I think.
I agree.
I like Star Wars best in its like, let's play with stuff right around the time frame of the original trilogy, but not really impacting the main characters. I mean, Solo is about Han Solo, I guess, but that's why like Mandalorian was so fun. It's like, oh man, yeah, what's the galaxy like a few years after Return of the Jedi, or I liked the Obi-Wan miniseries pretty good. So that's my favorite thing. I like it when they're experimenting in that stuff, but it's like, I don't really need to know what happens to Luke Skywalker 30 years down the line after Return of the Jedi. I found out, but
in theory, we would think we would like that, but then whenever it actually happens, it's like, never mind. I wish we did not know that.
I liked the Star Wars 7, 8, 9. I had in my head.
Right, exactly. Well, the expanded universe in the novels and the comics and all that stuff, that already like had its own mythology.
That's right. Yeah.
That Disney threw in the trash.
Hilarious.
So the super hardcore fans, I never really got deep into that stuff, a little bit, but not much. But the super hardcore fans that had followed all the expanded universe stuff, they were really ticked off that Disney didn't just follow the expanded universe stuff and adapt those to screen. And from what I know about the expanded universe, they're probably right. Like, Disney probably should have just adapted those instead of doing their own thing. Even though I love when The Force Awakens came out. I mean, me and you actually were in the same screening. You had seen it like already at midnight the night before or something, and then you were at the opening day, the second screening. I was there, and I was just like, I was blown away. I was like, yes, this is exactly what I want. From an episode 6 sequel, Return of the Jedi sequel. It's perfect to teed everything up. And then Last Jedi came out.
I know.
And it was like, you know what?
Yeah.
Never mind. Just and it actually kind of ruined The Force Awakens a little bit. It kind of undercut what they had set up.
Oh, yeah.
And then when J.J. Abrams came back and basically tried to make up for The Last Jedi, he ended up not only basically undoing The Last Jedi, but he undid what he had done in The Force Awakens too. So you end up one of my favorite critic quotes, and I don't remember who the critic was that said this, but it was, "I've never seen a trilogy whose films actively hate each other as much as these three." And I was like, that's
hilarious.
That's a great description. That's a great description.
That is spot on. That's so funny.
It was perfect. But you make a good point about the prequels. You said earlier you'd rewatched them, and you said you think they're as bad as people said. And I think we've actually talked about this, you and I, privately, that we've reached the point where the prequels are actually, there's a generation of kids who grew up like the Gen Z, the Zoomers. They grew up with the prequels. Like, there are Zoomers out there who have only seen the prequels. Like the actor Tom Holland that plays the new Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He's only, last I knew, it's all an interview, he had only ever seen the prequels.
That's hilarious.
And that's like a whole generation of kids. They grew up with that, just like we grew up with the original trilogy, and they just think they're great. They think the prequel trilogy is great. But what's funny is, you were probably the same way. When those movies were coming out, I, as a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old, also thought they were great. Like, I was, whenever I saw them at their time of release, I was a kid, I was like, yeah, these are so good. Phantom Menace, I came out of Phantom Menace going like, man, I don't know. I think that may be the best Star Wars ever. And what's funny is, I don't know if you've ever seen this footage, but there is footage out there of these news crews interviewing people coming out of the original screenings of the Phantom Menace.
Really?
And it's almost universal, like, that was the most mind-blowing movie I've ever saw.
Really?
George Lucas.
Hilarious.
Shaquille O'Neal comes out of a screening, and they're like, so what did you think about the movie, Shay? He's like, oh man, that was the best Star Wars ever. It's crazy. And then over time, as we grew up and we rewatched them, it's kind of like, oh, I mean, this not as good as we thought when it was a kid, but there are some good moments in the prequel trilogy.
So I know what you mean. Yeah, you do have to wonder if there's at least some element, of kind of cultural groupthink.
It is. Like, I think there was. I think this is kind of an internet. Like, the internet has affected the perception a lot.
Totally.
I think it affected the perception of the ultra hate that the prequels got, but I also think it is now affecting the rehabilitation of the prequels. Like, some people are putting them on a pedestal, and it's like the answer is actually somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but anyway, but you made a great point about the prequels, that there's some good stuff in there. I think about Phantom Menace. I know you had Attack of the Clones. I still think like Attack of the Clones is actually better than the Phantom Menace overall. But the Phantom Menace, Darth Maul.
Oh, such a great.
And the lights, Qui-Gon Jinn, Darth Maul, young Obi-Wan, those three characters are great. And then the duel with the Duel of the Fates. Score.
Amazing.
I mean, one of the greatest scores of all time. Not just in Star Wars, but of all time. So even like the worst of the prequels has some really good moments in there. And I don't know, I can't say that about at least two of the sequels.
Yeah.
So it's like, But anyway, okay, so there you have it, folks. That is the definitive ranking. Sam Mooney ranked these things. That's it. You don't ever, nobody ever has to make another ranking video again for Star Wars. Nobody ever has to watch another ranking video of Star Wars.
The conversations, it's done.
It's done. It's done. So where do you stand now on the franchise as it is? I know you said you really like the Obi-Wan series. That's whenever I quit watching Obi-Wan. There was just too much for me. It was just the suspension of disbelief required. And I'm also a stickler for continuity, which is why I used to get really mad at George Lucas, because he was not. Even with the original trilogy, there's stuff in the original trilogy that actually contradicts itself. That people,
really,
like nobody really talks about it, but it's there. It's there. I could write a book on it.
Yeah.
But anyway, and what really burned me up about Obi-Wan the most, is Revenge of the Sith teed up Obi-Wan to be left in the desert.
That's right.
And it made perfect sense with his appearance in A New Hope, which was originally not called A New Hope. It was just called Star Wars. It was first released. But so everything was perfect. Everything really matched well. The last time he had seen Anakin was when he had sliced him up on Mustafar, and his body got Kazuke. Which made the line perfect that Vader says in the original Star Wars. He says, "When we last met, I was but the learner. Now I am the master." And then Obi-Wan says, "Only a master of evil, Darth." Like that, what George did for the Revenge of the Sith scene made that whole exchange work perfectly.
Gosh, that's so true.
The Obi-Wan series says, "Oh no, actually, Obi-Wan's going to be in the desert for like 10 years, and he's lost his mojo, and he goes and he actually fights Vader not one more time, but twice. In this random solo adventure off, and then defeats him again. Then goes back to Tatooine, and his character arc is exactly where it was at the end of Revenge of the Sith.
That's so true. That's so true.
And I was like, oh, okay, I'm out. I haven't watched any since then. I haven't even seen the third season of Mandalorian.
I haven't either.
Okay, so
it got to be too much for me to keep up with. And the other thing is going to your thing of like, you have this ending, and then for the sake of the show, we build out these plot lines that kind of dilute the endings of other things. I began to feel that way a little bit about The Mandalorian, in the sense of like, remember in the first episode, there was this part where they had these like, there were these stormtroopers, and they were like, their uniforms were like battered, and they were covered in dust. And it was cool, this idea of like, oh wow, like the Empire fell, but there would still be these stragglers out about. But as it goes on, it's like, there's still generals and ships and like units, and it's like, they seem like a pretty well-organized empire still, but it's supposed to be like, they had a celebration at the end of Return of the Jedi because it was over. And so it's kind of like, for the sake of the show, they like created all this, plot line around, this stuff. And it's like, kind of feels like Return of the Jedi didn't happen now, because it seems like there's a lot of stormtroopers and Imperial generals and stuff. So yeah, it is funny. That is, I agree. Those kind of things added up over time with all the new stuff. And also, I think like the reason we were all stoked about Star Wars 7 is, that we waited, 20 years for it, or I guess it was only like 10 years between those sequels, but 20 something since Return of the Jedi. And, it is an element of less is more. It's like,
actually, it was like 40 from between Return of the Jedi. Yeah, like 40,
right,
42, 83 to 2015.
Wow. So yeah, that was, gosh, that's longer than I thought.
Let's see, 32. Yeah, 32.
Yeah, so you waited 32 years for the story.
Yeah.
And it's like, Star Wars thrived on scarcity, and it's like, because every new piece of like, wow, this universe that's so nostalgic to us, we get to glimpse into it again. And again, I think they just put out too much that it's not special anymore, I suppose.
I agree. Same thing with Marvel. I'm a big Marvel guy. And
Totally.
they've done the same thing. It's the exact same thing. And it's so funny you mentioned that about the scarcity of Star Wars. It was something special when something came out. I remember when I was a kid, they didn't make any action figures, Star Wars action figures, between like 1984 and 1995.
Wow.
Yeah. And I had my brothers and my cousins, and I was just like, yeah, I loved them. I loved playing with action figures. And whenever the first new line of figures came out in 1995, I remember being in Walmart, and let's see, I was 6.5, and I was in there with my dad, and I walk into Walmart, we go down the toy aisle, and there is a new line of Star Wars figures, and they have R2-D2s. I didn't have R2-D2 from the original
That's
set,
awesome.
and I was like, Daddy, it's R2, can I get R2? He's like, yeah, let's get. I'm like, yes! It was like such a big deal because there had been none manufactured in 11 years. Now it's like there's a new line every week.
That's hilarious.
Like the action figures aren't even special anymore. So
Yes.
so did you see Book of Boba Fett?
I did not.
Okay, yeah. So last
No.
time we talked, you didn't watch that yet. So it's
Yeah.
basically actually The Mandalorian season 2.1. Like it's
Okay.
or 2.5. What do you want to look at it?
Yeah.
Because it starts out where it's Boba Fett. It's not very interesting at all. Like it's like I hated it. I
Mm.
absolutely hated it. And like halfway through the season, it just becomes Mandalorian comes back on there and it's his show. And it's
Interesting.
like it's literally like teeing up for season 3 of Mandalorian that I then didn't watch.
Yeah.
And now you know they've got a Grogu and Mandalorian movie coming out
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
When does that come out?
sometime this year. I don't even know. I haven't even watched the trailer
Yeah.
because I'm like I don't know. I didn't even watch season 3. But anyway, so yeah, we're kind of basically in the same boat on Star Wars at this point. If you enjoyed that clip, be sure to follow the Film Nerd by Night podcast wherever you're getting this episode. Also, consider supporting us on Patreon for full-length movie reactions and early access to episodes like this. Stay tuned. We'll see you next time.